Hey, what's going on, my Spurs family? So, I've done an earlier video right after the Brighton game. Welcome to Spurs fan. Welcome to the Road Boy Sound channel, specifically sounding off on things Spurs. And while I think I may have been a bit harsh on my reaction to the game, I said, you know what, let me give myself some time, let me cool down, let me take a circle around social media, let me see what the fans are saying, let me hear what the manager is saying, and see if I could have a more leveled approach to what I'm about to say. And while I may have been very, very harsh, use some words that I think I shouldn't have, I am not going to take them back. Because the most of the things that I said, right, without even knowing that it was being said outside to defend Ange, right, is that Ange himself in his press conference or answering another question had come forward and state the obvious that, look, I am not going to change because this is who I am, and we as fans have to accept that, win, lose, or draw. So let me just be reasonable here. During the 5-game win streak, I said, and I said to other content creators, what I would like to see in the wins, we'll take them, but let me see the areas that are being improved. And specifically because I've always spoken about the not the high line per se, but the inverted fullbacks in tandem. I still think you can play the high line, but you need at least 3 of your defenders, right, to spread across however you set them so that you have coverage on your wings, because that's pretty much what's happened. If you split your defenders out on one right, so you send since Udogi is who we want to see flashing in the attack, or you could go in alternate, right? So if your right fullback goes right, the left staying for the defense, and you're number 6. So now you're defending with 4 instead of actually defending with 2, right? So that's what I was really talking about, right? So I didn't see that during the 5-game win streak. I didn't see that we were doing that. I see us beating teams that we were better than. I see us beating teams because they expose themselves to the most lethal parts of Spurs' game. You cannot expose yourself to Spurs. They're going to run you into the ground. So we just covered the 5 games and said, yes, I like the win streak, but I was looking for improvement in the play, tactically and otherwise. The only thing I get from that, doing a little research, was that I realized that Brennan Johnson was playing inside or coming inside way more than he was going down the line, because he's not a flat-out winger. He's not going to take his man on and beat him and put the cross in or get him like, Saka will do, Salah will do, Mitoma, so on and so forth. He's not that kind of guy. But what he does is flash inside and he makes himself available, and that is why he's scoring so many goals, which is great. You want to see your wingers coming inside. You want to see your wingers occupying that spot so that the fullback and your number 8 are not the ones who are going in there, but they are the ones who are providing support behind you. That's tactical. So looking at that, I was like, okay, so Ange had done something to Brennan Johnson, right? And I was like, okay, so then I questioned myself as to, if he had done that for Brennan Johnson, why couldn't he do that for Werner? To bring Werner inside and let Udogi go on the outside. So I realized that that was something that seemed more instinctive to Werner and to Johnson than Ange making that change, right? So I didn't see improvement in the win streak. I didn't see it, right? So now that I'm looking for improvement, that we're playing against Brighton, and we came out and we do what we're supposed to do. And like I said, if you expose yourself the way Brighton exposed themselves, where we're running and gunning and everything just seemed like it was going to be a field day. But once the game slows down, once the Brighton starts doing things tactically different, we went back to the same old thing, right? We started to put the ball down. which Vic does, pass it to Romero. Romero sits on it, pass it back to Vic, right? Vic to Van der Ven, maybe pass it down to Uyogi, and we have that. So now we're looking at the board, and we're looking at the stats as it goes. And Spurs have 66% of the ball, right? This is run about the 35th minute of the game. And then all of a sudden, right, even though we're still getting chances, and I'm watching the game and I'm saying, how is this game just starting to change? So for some of us who are talking about this the last 45, no, it's not the last 45. It started around the 35th minute of the game, right? And I will tell you what started to happen there. Vicario decided that he was going to start putting the ball down, and he was going to spread Romero and Van der Ven below his 18-yard line, right? By then, Brighton begins to pull up and begins to push up. So while they were not pressured and getting a pressure on the ball, we were up too, and our goalkeeper and our defender, who is the captain, decide that this is what we're going to do, inviting the pressure. They were not playing like, say, the way Newcastle play or Arsenal, where they literally gave us the ball. They weren't giving us the ball. They backed up and they were giving us a chance to come to them, and we were going at them. But all of a sudden we put the ball down and we started doing whatever it is, and we encouraged them. And they have that run about 5-6 minutes before the half where they looked like something was going to happen. And then the half came. Luckily, they didn't score. And Mitoma, and I made this comment in a watch along with Sava from Heritage at TV, that Porro needs help with Mitoma, right? My comment said, looking good, Porro needs help. Those are still there as my comment on his show, right? And so when I listened to Ange saying that we couldn't have done anything different, right? I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, so Brighton went in and realized that we can't afford to be so open, right? We were going over the top, dropping the ball in between the fullback, the center backs, and the goalkeeper. And Werner was looking good. I think it's the best he has moved around and look like he was getting into it. But that's where the sacrifice should have come in. Once Brighton went to a 4-4-2, right? And they were doing what they were doing. Now it's time for us to make that adjustment, right? Because Mitoma was still giving us a hard time. So to counter that, you didn't have to go to a 4-4-2 or anything else. You just need to make a personal change and a tactical change to adjust to what they were doing. And it would have been easy. Take off Werner, right? Put Johnson over there on the left because I don't want to disturb his run. Right, so put him over there. He's a senior guy. Don't bring on Mikey Moore because you don't want to put him in an environment like that. So since you don't want to do it, although I would have preferred that you brought him on and keep Kulu at the number 8 position. So we're not going to do that because we don't want to expose the lad, right? Good management. So now this is what you'd have done, right? Is that I said, okay, I need some stability in my midfield. Johnson, who isn't a good defender, I'm not worried about the left side. I have to worry about the right side because Mitoma is having a field day. So now I need Kulu, who can come back and help out Porro. So I would have put Kulu out there on the right, right? So he could come back and help Porro. And I would bring on either Sarr or Bissouma and plug them in there and go to a 4-2-1-3 setup to counter what they did and play through that. That's it. So to say that there was nothing that you could do as a manager, it is appalling to even think that your manager would say something like that. It's appalling that your manager would tell you that there's nothing tactically he could have done to stem the tide. And if you look at it, right, the youngsters, in my opinion, I didn't bring them on in what I'm proposing. I still have our senior players. Bissouma and SARS are senior players. Take off Werner and utilize it because they all can play in the positions that you want them to play. And go back and pull your fullbacks, pull Udogie back, pull or take off Udogie as well if you want to extend it a little bit more and play Spence. So you have choice. They're all senior players. And you still haven't touched your young players yet. So for those who want to say, oh, we couldn't bring Mikey Moore on, we couldn't bring Bergville on, we couldn't bring Gray on, you weren't. You were never going to do that. You were never going to bring them on because you have the senior players there on the bench that you could have. Pull your dog and put Spence on. Yes? Switch. You could have gone either way. Because Kulu is a winger, you're going to get just about a little bit less in terms of creativity from Papa Sarr. But he has the energy to come and check Mitoma. And he did nothing. And he's going to tell you that there was nothing that we could have done. Listen, let me say this. I've supported all the managers. Every one of them, from Nuno to Conte to Jose to Poch. I've supported all of them. But there comes a breaking point. I can go through all of them and tell you where my breaking point is, right? And I think from not what the manager did, right? We can all get overwhelmed by the situation. We all can see a situation different. But in retrospect, when you're going to address it, to make a fool out of me, to say that there was nothing you could have done as the manager to stem that, no matter what tactical change I could have made, it was never going to have a different result. He needs to go. He absolutely needs to go. I don't care if we have sacked 5 managers, 6 managers, whatever year. He needs to go. He can't have my full support from here on out. And that's on him. That's not on me because I supported him 100%, even though I know that he was not a tactically sound manager. I still support him. But now he needs to go. Pretty much needs to go. Because if you're going to tell me that you could not have made tactical changes to try, not to make a difference, to try and make a difference, because that's all you can do. Right? And for those people who are looking around and saying, oh, Romero was here, and Van der Ven was here, and Udogie was here, they were all there because they were playing in the same system. When tactical changes were made, they were playing the same way without tactical changes to help them to communicate and do whatever was needed to quell some of the attacks that were coming from Brighton. So for those who are giving me the still pictures and so the players were lazy and the players were this and leave this and leave that and leave for 20 years, that's not Levy that you saw. You saw a manager incapable of doing something to change the tenure of a game because he refused to, right? And I say this all the time. I want to cut this short because I'm getting all worked up. So I'm going to cut this to about 15 minutes. You are not going to impose yourself for 90 minutes on Premier League teams, at least those that are bordering around 10 down to the top of the table, right? You are not going to come week after week and impose yourself with your style or whatever. Not even City does that. City does run into problems. Arsenal runs into problems. But you know what they do? They make adjustments, right? Our manager refused to make the adjustment to what is needed. Great system. I love it. I love the football. Love the fast football. Love the front foot football. Love to see they just get up and run. But there comes a time when get up and run is not going to give you the 3 points. Or you can eke out a point from that. And for him to say what he said, it's going to take a whole lot for me to come back and say, look, this is the man I want to be leading my club. Put things in perspective, folks. Put things in perspective. When the manager said, forget about Levy, look at me, and you get that from him, I don't want to hear anything about Levy. I don't want to hear anything about the scouts. I don't want to hear anything about 20 years. I don't want to hear about the last time we won. I want to hear about Brighton, Spurs. What did this manager do? Talk to me about that. Put that in context and let me know. that if that man right there is the manager. Don't tell me about the players not good enough. He's the one who chose them. He's the one who asked them. He's the one who said that they are good enough for his system. So prove it to me. I'm out of here. I'm getting worked up. I'm getting angry. So no need for that. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Am I wrong? Am I, being too hard, too harsh, or I'm just plain straight, don't know what I'm talking about? Come on, you Spurs.